Welcome to How I Got Here, hosted by seasoned educator Jeremy Proper. This is a podcast of conversations with his former students discussing their journey from middle school to where they are today. Guests highlight their successes and the life lessons learned along the way. And now let's welcome the host, Jeremy Proper.
Welcome to How I Got Here with Mr. Proper. I will be talking to former students who will tell their story of their personal journey from Mr. Proper's class, aka Club 128, to where they are now. Everyone has a different path to get to where they are now, and that path may just be the beginning to where they actually want to be. In these podcasts, I hope to tap into the journeys that my former students have taken. Also, for them to share their experiences with my current students, and for that matter, anyone else who is interested in seeing how hard work in and out of the classroom actually pays off. Let's welcome today's guest, Dominique Desroches. How are you today, Dominique?
Doing well, thanks, Mr. Proper. How are you doing?
I am doing spectacular now that I'm interviewing you because I have followed your achievements from you coming back and telling me from high school to college to post-college, and then you giving me a quicker version today. I am so thankful and proud of A, that you're here doing me this honor, and B, that your accomplishments are unparalleled in my opinion. And I am just over the moon that you were willing to take the time to talk to your 8th grade social studies teacher.
Thanks. You're sweet. No, I'm really excited to contribute to the project. What you're doing is really awesome.
I really appreciate it, and I can't believe what legs it has taken on and how it's grown. And without the kindness of people like yourself and your brother coming on and discussing their experiences to hopefully help this generation understand, as we discussed earlier in the green room, that I'm done, that I just felt like this was a new modern way, and I got to do it, and they get to listen on their own, and they get to choose which ones they want and find something that's interesting to them. And I know from your experiences and what your brother told me that your experiences are amazing. So as I like to begin, I ask my interviewee to take a few minutes to introduce yourself. Please include when you left Don Estridge, where you went to high school, then college, post-college, and what you're currently doing today.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dominique. I know you've already said that, but for folks listening, hi, I'm Dominique. So grew up in Boca, as I imagine a lot of your listeners do. Went to elementary school at Morecambe Park, and then moved on to Don Estridge. Was there from 2008 to 2011. So, just a little while ago.
just a minute, as the kids say.
Just a minute, yes. I'm aging myself, but that's fine.
That's okay. You've aged quite gracefully. Don't worry about it. You're fine.
Thanks. Then moved on to West Boca High for high school. And then ultimately made my way over to Yale University for college in Connecticut.
So leading up to high school, in middle school, did you feel like middle school prepared you for the rigor of what high school had? Did you feel like you got there and went, okay, I got this?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I mean, I think it's a testament to the teachers that I had throughout my experience in Estridge, but definitely were teachers who were willing to challenge me, both when it came to the subject matter or the curriculum of the course itself, but also, indulging me in my millions of questions.
Always. But they were always such great questions. You see, that's the problem. The Dominiques of the world ask intriguing questions. The not Dominiques of the world ask sidetracking questions to try to get Mr. Proper off topic. So I was more intrigued with you and your question because you actually had some interest in what we were talking about. It wasn't like, hey, did you see the Dolphin game last night? Yeah, no. You were like, okay, if we're talking about John Adams, and I'm like, whoa, here we go. Let's see where this has to take us. That's pretty cool. So I love to ask all of my students, do you recall how many AP classes you took in high school?
Oh, gosh.
Don't mean to put you on the spot. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm going to have to do some quick math. Let's see.
And again, this is where editing comes in, so take your time.
Okay, cool.
Don't feel the pressure.
Me going back through my high school
transcripts. I'm sorry.
And calendar in my head. Let's see. So I think it was like 14 or 15.
Oh, okay. And of those, can I ask you the spot on question? How many fives did you get?
Quite a few.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So obviously your end result was Yale, so mostly fives, I would say. So I'm just trying to show the kids that you're not going to go to an Ivy League school if you're not putting in 110%, even though we know that's physically impossible. But on top of that, could you explain to the students what other outside curricular activities that you did? Like, what were your extracurriculars? Because it wasn't just study. Everyone has 24 hours, 7 days a week to do that. What else did Dominique do to pad her resume for Yale to go, hey, we want that girl?
Yeah. No, I mean, very, very important question. For sure, grades are very, very important, but they're not the only thing that matters for your applications. But yeah, so I was very, very involved in high school, in the broader community by extension. So in high school, I participated in a variety of different like volunteering opportunities. So I was in Key Club as an example, and also got to a place as I.
Could you do me a favor and just explain to the kids what Key Club is? I don't know if they all know what that is.
Oh yeah. So it's a like a volunteer organization where you kind of work together with your other students and whoever the sponsor of the club is to for example, do beach cleanups, to participate in fundraising for the breast cancer awareness walk, just various opportunities.
Nonprofit charities.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So I actually did that for quite a bit of my time in high school, and then ultimately, got to a place where I was helping lead the club, helping lead various committees on the club.
Nice. Because a lot of them don't seem to understand that volunteering and giving of your time is more important than saying I got a job and I made $14 an hour. They want to know, like, what kind of human being are you currently and what kind of human being are they getting? So how are you going to make, in this case, Yale, a better place? Like, you're coming here. What do you bring to the party to make it a better place? So you bring in cheese dip or you bring in something better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's definitely not just about your accomplishments in the classroom, like showing that you have the academic rigor to perform well at Yale, but it's also they kind of assess you as a person. Are you involved in your community? Do you care about things outside of yourself, right? Like, this is one thing that they pick up on when you are interviewed by an alumni of the university. Like, they'll talk to you not just about your academics. I mean, I think that was, I don't know, maybe we spent like 2 minutes on my
yeah, because they can read you on a piece of paper, but they need to read you as a person.
Exactly.
Now,
So
can you circle back? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. You said something very, very important. I'm sorry, I'm a rude interviewer, but I don't want to forget. Can you go back to the interview process? Because I don't think many of these students understand anything of what you just said.
Oh, yeah, sure. So when you apply to a Yale or, other Ivy League or frankly other quote unquote prestigious universities.
Top tier schools.
Yes, exactly. They often will have an alumni. If there's an alumni who lives in the area, they'll connect you with that person, and that person will spend some time, usually about an hour and a half, talking to you, getting to know you, asking you various questions about your upbringing, but also like your stance on certain issues, and your opinions about various things. And then they will kind of, I think, from my understanding, is they'll fill out a brief kind of I don't want to say assessment. That might be a bit
questionnaire, maybe.
Yeah, just to kind of provide their own insight on who the
recommendation.
Whether or not, yeah, exactly, a recommendation for how they think the admissions committee should proceed.
Nice. I really appreciate that because not a lot of people from Don Estridge have had the experiences that you have had. And I'm sure that there are many kids who are thinking, well, I sure would like to follow that path, pursue is what I was trying to say. Mm-hmm. Or my parents at least want me to. And here you're giving them the true, this is what you have to do because this is what she did. That's where she went. This is not made up. This is reality.
Yeah.
And so when you then took all these AP high school classes, how did you feel academically when you showed up at Yale? Did you feel like, okay, I'm prepared? Or you were like, oh crap, what do I do?
No, I did not feel prepared at all. I mean,
Really?
I think the summer before I started at Yale, I was like, okay, I got this. Just having been valedictorian of high school and, kind of having like been able to do well in school. Like I think I'll say I was kind of nervous going into my time at Yale the summer after I graduated from high school, but it wasn't really like I am unprepared. It's just like, oh, like I'm going to Yale and there are a lot of people, smart people who go to this school.
Right. Can
Right.
you once again? I just want to make sure that they understand what that phrase means. Valedictorian.
Oh, so I had the highest honors point average at my school in high school. So
And
they,
in
they take,
turn, come on, Dominique, say it. In turn,
what do you mean?
you graduated.
I was, top of my class, first
Right.
ranked first in my class.
So all of the hard work and everything that this young woman has done paid off for her to be number one at her high school, which afforded her the ability to apply and get accepted at one of the most prestigious schools probably in the world. And this is the key concept of this whole podcast, which we discussed in the very beginning. Hard work pays off.
It does.
And
It does.
it really does. The one thing that I think I interrupted you was, please take a moment and tell them what you're currently doing now, or the degree you earned, and then what you're currently doing now.
Yeah, sure. So I'm living in New York City. I am a management consultant um, for various healthcare organizations. So basically, what it comes down to is I help various hospital systems, health insurance companies, health tech companies, non-profit groups, advocacy organizations, any kind of organization that touches the healthcare landscape or in some way, shape, or form, work through various business problems so that they can, continue on with their mission, make money, if I'm being frank, but also
Nice.
give
And
back.
you achieved what level of degrees in order to earn this very nice job that you have?
Yeah, so I have both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. So my bachelor's is in economics and the history of science, medicine, and public health. A mouthful, I know.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And then my master's degree is a master's in public health, specifically in healthcare management. So the business side of healthcare.
And once again, in the uber achievement that is Dominique, you did this again, remind us, because you told me in how many years?
I did it in 5. So I did a dual degree. I am a little crazy. So I did a double major in college, and then because that wasn't enough, chose to add on another degree and do it all at the same time, which I will say, it takes work, obviously, but it is a great time and money saver. So
Without a doubt, doing it all at once. I actually had the opposite problem, that I couldn't decide if I wanted to just have a bachelor's in history or if I wanted to be a teacher. My parents basically were like the college prepaid. They go, you have 4 years, whether you finish or not, we're paying for 4 years. So 4 years came around and I needed to do another semester for student teaching. And I was like, I don't want to do this. So I went back on the post-bac level master's to do the student teaching and do that. So it made a lot more sense. But yeah, I wish I would have done it like you did at the exact same time. It would have saved a lot more time and, most importantly, a lot more money.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
These days with education is so
Yeah,
expensive.
it's so expensive, unless you're fortunate enough to have a parent that works at the university that you want to go to.
Yeah,
It's very expensive.
it is.
So now, with all these great accomplishments that you've explained, how did you, Dominique, get inspired for learning? Was there a moment, a person, a teacher, many moments? Some students have several. They're like, well, in elementary it was this, in middle it was that. But is there something that drove you, that you were like, I want to do this now? Like someone or something or some action?
Yeah, I think it ultimately comes down to my mom, and I think it's probably cliche, but my mom like recognized the value of education pretty early on. Right, she's an immigrant, but
Yes,
both my
please
parents really,
dive in a little deeper. An immigrant from
yeah.
where?
So both of my parents are immigrants from Haiti. So my mom moved here when she was in high school, and then my dad moved here when he was in his early 20s. So my mom, did the high school
Experience.
experience here, yes, and recognized pretty early on, like, the value of an education and the opportunities that it provides for you when you do well. And she kind of championed for both my brother and I. So you've been alluding to my brother.
Yes, yes. She has a twin brother. We haven't said
Who,
that. We said it on his, but we haven't said it on hers.
yeah. So he's just connecting some dots here. So he was a guest on the podcast, and I
Yes.
would recommend you listen to whatever it is he had to say.
Yes, for sure. I
But
got to get it out there because he has that deep baritone voice that I'm in love with.
he does. He's got a good voice for
He
podcasts.
really does. He's like, people tell me I should be in radio. I'm like,
Yeah.
you should, dude. You have a
He
great
really
voice.
should. He should. Yeah. Yep.
So they're twins and they grew up and their mom was really into education
Mhm.
and that saw the value of it. And what did she do for you and your brother? I'm sorry, I'm leading you along like a lawyer would, but your brother told
Yeah.
me some stuff that I remember. What did she
So,
specifically do? Do you remember?
so yeah, of course. How could I forget?
Of course not. It happened to you.
It did. It was my life. Yeah, she really pushed for us to kind of learn things before we would learn them in school. So, for example, she signed us up for Kumon, which is like a student enrichment program, at a very young age. I think we were probably like 5 or 6 when we joined, and we did that until I want to say like 4th grade.
Yeah, that is young. That is very young. That's
Very-
an early start.
Yep. And then during the summer, so I mean, going back to that, I'll finish that thought. We would every week be assigned various assignments across math, across reading, across writing, and would complete these little booklets and submit them for grading to the teachers in that organization.
Hmm.
And then also, kind of in addition to that, my mom, for every summer we would buy academic workbooks that were the year that we were going to be entering into. So, for example, if I was the summer between my 2nd and 3rd grade year, my mom would purchase a few workbooks made for 3rd graders, and we'd be tasked with completing those workbooks.
So you got a huge head start over your compatriots in your classroom. You already knew whatever the curriculum was. So by the time it came to you, it was actually almost being retaught to you rather than taught to you for the first time.
Exactly.
Your mom is brilliant. Your mom is a brilliant educator, and I know she's not an educator.
No, she's a nurse.
She's a nurse, and my favorite thing that your brother said to me was he remembers mom taking the two of you to the library.
Yes.
And that totally reminded me of another immigrant student whose parents were from India, and I was starting to put the dots together, and I was starting to realize, wait a second, the immigrant parent really is pushing, if they can, education because they realize what it's going to do for their children, which may or may not have happened to them. And the library is just ultimately a free place to do it. And I just found it so fascinating that was the story I keep hearing over and over and over again from the children. Maybe they be first generation Americans themselves, that's what their parents did. And that's what your brother Eric said. And I was like, wow, I've heard this like 3 or 4 times already. And I just think it's amazing because it shows how your brother, this other kid, successful that they were able to become because they weren't just like, woohoo, school's out for summer and they're playing Alice Cooper, throwing their books up in the air like, I don't give a crap for the next 2 months. Whereas you guys are like, okay, give me more. I'm a sponge and I like this stuff. It's like, it's hilarious. I'm so envious of my wife. It was just her birthday last week, and I promised to buy her a guitar for, I don't know, forever. And I finally did. And I'm so envious because, first of all, my wife played guitar when she was a young girl, so she remembers a lot of it, but she's just ripping it up. I'm listening to her play, and I'm so envious. Like, I've been at this for way too long, and you're already better than me. And it's nice because she had a foundation and now she's going back to it and she can sing. And I'm just like, I want to throw my guitar away. I'm like, this isn't fair. But that's the way education is with some people. Like they just have a thrive for knowledge and they just want to learn more. And I want to ask you, because you're a smart cookie. Do you believe that is something that's ingrained in you, or it's something taught, or maybe even a combination of the two?
I think it's a combination of the two, right? Like, I will admit that I am kind of inherently curious about the world around me. Like, we were alluding to the millions of questions that I would ask. And
But I love them. They were great. You
Cool.
weren't that annoying kid. That's what I love. I love the you student that's asking the deeper question about the question that I already thought was deep. And you're like, nah, let's go DEFCON 5 on this one. I'm like, okay,
Give
why
for your
not?
money. Yeah, yeah. No, exactly. But I think at the same time, right? Like, so I do inherently have that trait. Sometimes it's annoying, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh, no. Oh, just like every other trait. That's what people don't understand. You have a trait that other, like, I had a kid, like I told you, on Teacher Appreciation Week last year or the year before, write me. And he was the shyest kid in the world. And I was blown away that he used this analogy, but he was like, instead of the what would Jesus do, I would go, what would Proper do in this situation? And he was like, I don't know if you remember, I was a shy kid and I wouldn't talk to anyone. I have a girlfriend and I have all these friends. And I was like tearing up, like, holy moly. Like, look at what I did. Like, I really made a difference in this kid's life. And granted, he was like in his, 20s, like your age, I guess. And he still wanted to say something. And I guess as a teacher and educator, you might not think of those things because it's so far removed from the moment that we're in right now.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it gets to like kind of the other aspect of that, in that, like, yes, you can be inherently curious, but at the same time, like, it's important to be exposed to people who are willing to give you the time of day to foster your curiosities, right, and indulge you in them.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to be curious about the world around you, but if you don't have access to resources to kind of teach you the things that you want to learn,
you're never going to learn it. Exactly.
So
now you just brought up a horrible high school memory for me, and I can't remember the teacher's name for obvious reasons for the story I'm about to tell, but he was an AP teacher. But he was that AP teacher. I don't know if you had one of these in high school. You may have. I hope you didn't. That if you weren't in his class, you didn't exist on planet Earth. And I saw him. He was walking down the hallway. He looked like he was looking right at me. So I was raised to be a polite person. I'm a student here at this school. This is a teacher. I don't want to be rude. Good morning, Mr. So-and-so. And he looked right through me like I didn't exist. And I'll never forget what I turned around and said to him. And I turned around and I said, look, sir, just because you choose not to see me doesn't mean I don't exist. In that tone. And he turned around, and I believe he was an English teacher. And he turned around and looked at me, and I just walked away. And I was like, just because you don't know who I am doesn't mean I'm a dummy. And I couldn't do the curriculum in your. And I swore that moment, Dominique, that very moment, if I ever became a teacher, and I think I was either a sophomore or junior in high school, this was probably the deepest thought I ever had at 17 or 18 years old. If I ever become a teacher, I will never be that teacher. Now that we understand how you got inspired for learning, were there teachers along the way that did it for you, that you were like, all right, third grade, it was Mrs. Smith, and she was just amazing because, everybody was drawing circles, and I was like, circles are stupid, and I want to draw this. Like, were there teachers that you remember along the way, elementary, middle, high school, college, graduate school, Lord knows whatever else education you've gotten because you have a ton of degrees already at a young age?
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's see, thinking into elementary school, I would definitely have to point to Miss Ottinger. So she was my 4th and 5th grade teacher.
Oh, nice. 2 years in a row.
Yeah, we did a loop. I think that's what it was called.
Okay.
She carried her 4th grade class over to her 5th grade class. I should say to their 5th grade year, rather. That makes more sense. But yeah, so she would always, I was a pretty shy kid. I mean, I still have
You sure were. That's for sure.
I'm very much an introvert. I think I've become more extroverted with age, but naturally I'm an introvert. And she really encouraged me to kind of speak up. I remember that there was one time she was out for the day for some reason, and we had a substitute teacher, and the substitute, just because I was so quiet, like, I think asked a question or like asked us to do something, and I remember her saying, oh wow, I didn't realize you were in this class, you haven't said anything all day.
Oh my God.
To give you a sense of how shy and how quiet I was.
Right.
But Ms. Ottinger kind of could see past that, and just would prompt me with questions and get me comfortable, kind of get me to open up a bit. Like
I
she
love
just
the shy
really
kids. I
took
love to
an
do that. I
interest.
love to make them talk and get them involved. And I'm like, I know you know what's going on. You need to be participatory now. And he's like,
Exactly.
well, if you weren't so smart, and it's like every time I grade your paper, it's A. It's like I'm stuttering. I know you know the material, so
Yeah.
let's talk about it. Let's explain it to the people who don't know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. But yeah, it's the shy kids. They're usually really bright. They're watching everything that's going on, and you got to
Mhm.
pull them out of that shell. And
Yep.
I have tried many times. So obviously, please don't include me. But was there somebody from middle school that did it for you?
Yeah. So I think one actually, Mr. Dan. I don't actually know if she's still at Don Estridge. I think she's Miss Cohen now.
Yes. Oh no. Unfortunately, Miss Cohen passed away.
Oh, she did. Oh no.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm so
She was a
sorry.
drama teacher, right?
She was. She was.
Yeah, she actually got me to do a lot of stuff. And I think part of this podcast is part of her because I used to go into her room and I would do the skits and do crazy things. After you had left, I probably was in 3 or 4 performances of hers because the kids asked specifically for me to be in it. And I had never acted in anything in my entire life. And I was like, okay, if you want an old man up there. And she was always like, the kids are asking for you. I'm like, okay, I can't turn the kids down. That's my kryptonite. I just can't say no to them. And she pushed me. And I think a lot of this podcast is owed to her because so desperately wanted me to get up on stage and do stand up. And I'm kind of like a riffer. Like I can't really write material, but it comes to me as I'm talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You're
I'm more
very.
improv. Yeah.
You're sweet.
So Miss Cohen, that's awesome. I loved her
Yeah.
so much. She was just such a wonderful, caring, giving person.
Yeah, she was. She gave everything that she could to student productions and then also to just the students. I remember sometimes like Eric and I, we both did drama for 6th and 7th grade, and actually she was the music teacher at Murakami when I was
Oh, okay. So you already had a relationship or you knew her already.
exactly, yeah. But I do remember like when we would be doing rehearsals late or early in the mornings, and then also like late into the evening, like she was always like, okay, like if you need a ride home, I'm happy to give you one. Like just
Nice.
giving pieces of herself to her students.
Yeah, beyond what anybody else would do, for sure.
Yeah. And so she just, I mean, that piece of her, yes, but also just for her amazing ability to communicate is just something that I picked up from
Yeah, she had no problems with
aging.
words whatsoever. She
Yeah,
was
yeah.
she was a
And
wordsmith. She knew the right thing to say to the right person.
exactly, yeah. And it's just something I had always really admired about her, and
Nice.
is a soft skill that I picked up in large part because of my interactions with her. So
Nice. And high school, did it jump to high school? Was there another person that was like
yeah.
pushing young Dominique to go, hey, you can do more, you can do better, you can always refine.
Yes, definitely. So I'm gonna have to shout out Miss Stacy Jacobowitz on that one. So she was a math teacher. I remember when I first ninth grade years in geometry, and she was teaching an honors course, and I think that was like the first time where I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of material and it's really really difficult. I'm not sure whether or not I can actually do this course and do well. I mean, I will admit I was pretty fixated on grades.
Yes, for
Very
sure.
concerned that I'd get a B in this class. As stupid as that sounds, but
No, but it's how you were feeling at the time. It's not
yeah,
stupid at all. You were a
yeah,
kid, you didn't know any better,
I-
and you were going into a strange, difficult situation, and the last thing you wanted to do was tarnish that GPA of yours, and you're like, oh boy, what am I doing?
exactly, yeah. So, but I remember, so the first week or first month or so into the school year of my ninth grade year, um, my mom was trying to get us to switch out of that class.
Oh wow.
And she was like, no, you know what? Just wait until the first exam and we'll take it from there. And the first exam, I did quite well on it. And she has never let me live that down since.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. So then I ended up taking, I think, 3 of my 4 math classes with her
Nice.
in high school. So, we just naturally became very, very close. And she was always the person to push me. And,
Your go-to. Yeah.
yeah. So definitely I'm very, very grateful to her.
That's awesome that you found that person, because sometimes people don't. Some people don't make that connection, whether they don't want to, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you did, and that you didn't give up. And that's nice. I had a history professor in college that was the same way. And strangely enough, he was the only non-PhD professor at my university. He only had a master's. He got in before you had to have a PhD. He was from Zimbabwe, and he was just the coolest guy I'd ever met in my entire life. Just like I did to you, he would just brain tease me all the time and say things just to see if young Mr. Proper had any clue of what he was talking about. And we would have a tennis match, because obviously I sat in the back of the room and he in the front, and we would go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Class was over and we'd continue it into his office. And I had, like you said, never felt more challenged by a teacher in my life. And I learned just so much from him. And the same thing, people were always like, oh, I hate him, he's a jerk, and he this and he that. And I'm like, he likes me. That's all that matters. I've taken 4 classes from this guy and I've gotten straight A's. And they're like, well, you're a history major. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? I enjoy what I'm taking. And you get that one professor, teacher, doesn't matter who it is, that makes that difference. And all of a sudden the door just gets slammed open and you're like, wow, I can do this. This is cool. I like this. And that's awesome. I'm so glad that you found these people and they've helped you along your way. And you've basically answered the aha moment question, because, you know what you're doing. So if young Dominique could turn back time to 8th grade and tell herself some piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, I would definitely say don't take yourself as seriously. I think I caused myself a lot more pain than was worth. Yeah, going through elementary, or not really elementary school.
More middle, I would imagine.
Middle.
That's the time when the awkwardness and all that stuff comes in.
Yeah, exactly. I was battling some self-esteem issues, and then also just, putting this immense self-imposed pressure on myself to be perfect, quote unquote perfect in an academic sense, like meaning getting straight A's all the time.
Did you have your eyes set on the Ivy League prize from an early on?
No, so that's the interesting thing. No, I didn't. I never in a million years thought that I could.
Oh, wow.
Even when I was getting straight A's. It was never really something that I thought I could do. I don't think it was really until I connected with my guidance counselor when I was starting to think seriously about college in junior and senior year, frankly, that I really recognized, oh, actually, Dominique, this is actually a real possibility for you.
So you had your own ha-ha moment sitting in the counselor's office when they said, this can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. That's just so amazing that you were just working towards what? I can't answer, just working.
Ambiguous college idea.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, Dominique, okay, you'll be going to college. You need good grades to get into college, but not really ever thinking far enough ahead to recognize, oh, actually, okay, you have your sights set on Yale, for example.
Right.
Until somebody actually told me, oh, actually, you are in the running for this. You can do.
All of a sudden, it became a reality.
Yeah.
Speaking of realities, I just thought of this question. What was it like, and I don't know how many people are at a graduation these days, but what was it like to stand up as valedictorian and give the valedictorian, valedictory? What is it called? I'm so stupid. I don't even know.
Valedictory speech. Yeah.
Oh, I got it right. Okay. The valedictory speech in front of all these people. And was that another aha moment where you were like, oh, wait a second?
Yeah, actually it was a lot of fun. I think there were probably like 3,000 or 4,000 people there, because we have it on
wow,
the fairgrounds. So it's
right. That's huge. Yeah, because your high school is giant to begin with.
Yeah. I think there were like 800 of us.
Right, and then you have 2 parents and all this other stuff, and and administration and all these people, and before you know it, it's like $3,000. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So it was. I mean, I was nervous for sure, but my brother was actually really great in that respect, because he helped me write it. My brother, being the charming man that he is, helped me charm the audience.
That's awesome.
With our opening and closing.
I love this twin story, because I've never heard animus. I'm sure you've argued, because it's just the way it is. But ultimately it just comes back to love and throwing out
Mhm.
the love for each of you to each of you. And like, it so warms my heart and it's so wonderful. And then to hear this, that's incredible. So again, he could have had animus and been like, you're valedictorian, you're number one, you figure it out. Like, what are you talking about? And meanwhile, you're like, I need a laugh here and I don't know where to put it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and that's it because we were all drawing on our strengths and you were able to recognize my brother Eric is good in this department. So let's call on him and he hasn't let me down yet. So why would he say no? And
Exactly.
that's awesome that he was there for you for that moment. So it's almost like, again, sharing the moment. And it wasn't just yourself. It was the two of you. So that has to be a special moment for the bond of the two of you. That's incredible. That I did not know. He did not mention that. That's interesting.
Christy would.
So, let's see. So what was your you mentioned something about this math class, but of course you rocked it anyway. Was there something else that was a challenging educational experience that you overcame that because this obviously you took the test and was like, oh yeah, okay, I got it. So was there something else that really was like, oh, wait a second, I didn't try, I need to try hard?
Yeah. No, it was definitely. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it was really a like, oh, you need to try hard, but it was definitely like when I first got to Yale. I mean, it's an academically very rigorous, unsurprisingly, right?
No, not at all.
And my first, having gone through college for the most part, save for experiences like the math class I was alluded to earlier, I really felt like I could, handle things on my own. Really, I didn't really need much support to get the work done well. Once I got to Yale, that changed, and that you are with students who have gone to boarding schools and have already, seen a lot of the material. Um,
Right. People who
but
are paying more money than going to Yale just to go to high school.
yeah, exactly. The
Yeah,
boarding.
I didn't go there, but I'm very familiar with those high schools. Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So I mean,
Did
it's
did
a
did
completely
did
different.
Brilliance Danielle have to do the ultimate sacrifice and get a tutor?
No, I didn't actually get a tutor, but I recognized pretty early on that I was gonna need some additional support in the sense of actually utilizing professor office hours,
Right. Oh, I did that
going
all.
straight to the source
Right,
to
right. You're testing me. What do you want me to know?
exactly. So I mean, it took a while for me to actually become comfortable with that because, like I said, right, like going through high school and middle school, my formative education years, like I didn't really feel the need to ask for help. It wasn't until I got to college that it became obvious that, okay, actually, you can't do this all on your own. Like, and it is okay to ask for help. It's not a detriment or like, it doesn't mean you're not smart. It just means you're smart enough to utilize your resources effectively.
I
And
understand that girls mature faster than boys, but this is still a maturity issue. This is still the maturation process to realize, it takes a village and I can't do this by myself.
Mhm.
So, luckily, throughout the educational experience, you didn't really need that. But then when you got to college, you recognize that with the maturity, you're like, well, if I want to stay here and be successful and do well, I kind of have to change my modus operandi and do something different. What got me here may not keep me here.
Mhm. Exactly.
And that is incredible. But that's maturity, that's your drive, your willingness. And again, like you said, overcoming this shyness of yours, which I'm sure once that happened, all of a sudden more doors were opened and more things were happening for you that maybe you never even realized because you're like, well, I'm just a shy, introverted kid. Now all of a sudden I'm in college where no one knows me. I'm starting fresh and I can be whoever I want.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome. That's awesome. So, with all of this unbelievably rigorous curriculum, post, school volunteering, how does Dominique relax? Like, how is there my me time and my downtime? What does Dominique do for herself to go, okay, I've studied enough, I've volunteered enough, I need to fill in the blank?
Yeah. So, and I mean, it's an important question. I mean, if I'm being honest, in high school, I didn't really take the time for myself that I needed to. So it's not really something that I had really thought much about during
It's
that.
not something you've dabbled in.
Yeah.
Well, with
Um,
14 AP classes when you have the time, you still
yeah,
have to
that's
sleep and eat.
right. But I think since entering college, I mean, I've definitely picked up on some hobbies like arts and crafts. Like, for example, yesterday we were doing like my roommates and I, we did a little arts and crafts session, just which is actually really soothing. But we were putting together some artwork for our living room.
Nice.
So like doing arts and crafts like that. Also, I'm a big bookworm, so sticking my nose in a book.
Of course.
It's another way I kind of unwind. I've also, taken up Latin dance classes.
Ooh, spicy.
In New York City.
Not too hard to find that in New York City.
No, not at all. But it's about finding the one that's right. So,
right for you, just like everything else, like a music teacher or anything else.
Exactly. So definitely taking the time to figure out what your hobbies and passions are outside of your work obligations is definitely really important, and it's still something I'm trying to figure out. I'm sure as I keep living in New York, I'll pick up on some new hobbies and new life experiences as a result of those hobbies, and I'm really excited to do that.
That's awesome. And so now, after all of this hard work, all of this preparation, you must have a lot. I mean, I'm guessing, I don't know, but you must have a lot more available free time, which must be a very unusual experience for you.
Yes, definitely. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with myself, which goes back to the whole trying to figure out what hobbies I actually want to pursue. But yes, I do have quite a lot. I find that my weekends are my own now. I will admit and say that my work is kind of crazy.
Yes, it is. We've had late night discussions just try to get you on the podcast. I'm like, is she home from work yet? Like, wow.
Yeah, I work pretty late. Sometimes I'm working until after midnight.
Wow. But, you're in a pretty high level position. I'm sure, not without discussing finances, you're making pretty good money. So the demands on you are pretty high.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So
but that's an awesome thing, though, that to let the kids know it does come to an end, that all this work pays off. And I mean, I guess it depends on what career choice you make, but you've excelled in the classroom and now you're excelling in the business world, but yet seemingly now you have more free time than you had when you were trying to get here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's what I wanted them to know, that it does come to an end. You're not going to live your life with burning both ends of the candle for the rest of your life, that it does start to slow down, and the hard work, as we've said many times, pays off for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll still continue to work hard, but as your ambitions kind of play out, right? Like you want to work your way up. I mean, if that is a goal of yours, right? Which it is a goal of mine to up, right, to leadership positions in the future. But it's not like it won't be all encompassing if you don't let it be all encompassing, because your job will take
until you say the most difficult 2-letter word in the English language. No.
Yes. And I still struggle with that, I'll be honest.
A lot of people do, especially because you're kind of new to the work world. Like, how long have you been doing what you do?
2.5 years.
Okay. So you're still relatively new in the world of work, 30, 40 years of a career. You don't want to annoy the wrong people. You don't want to turn people off. But on the other hand, you don't want to be working till 1 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday for the rest of your life either. It's like, but that's the experiences that we gain. And eventually we're like, and somebody eventually will be able to do it, not me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So was there something, looking back at your Don Estridge experience, that you learned about the school after you left? Like, once you left Don Estridge, where you're like, oh my God, I never realized that.
Yeah, I think it's thinking about, and I was alluding to this earlier with Mr. Dan's, Miss Cohen,
Yes.
just how much of themselves so many of my teachers gave to the students. It's just something that I didn't appreciate at the time, but definitely appreciated more in high school and in college. Just like thinking back on teachers like Mr. Rich, for example. Is Mr. Rich still there?
He's still there. Yep.
Yay. Who you literally blood, sweat, and tears went into that Draco's preserve, which I hope is still up and running.
It's still there. Yep.
And like, giving us, like, I remember spending countless hours during our lunch period crushing cans for fundraising for Draco's Preserve, and then he'd take us out on his Saturday mornings, like really early in the morning, and take us all out there to, help
Clean it up.
teach us about, the ecosystem that's out there, but also, have us clean it up for
Hmm.
to enjoy down the line.
That's awesome. Well, that goes along with your Key Club experience. That kind
Yeah,
of just
yeah,
went right in,
exactly.
volunteering.
So I mean, it definitely started my kind of love for giving back to the community in that way. In large part started because of the experiences that I had at Don Estridge, and by extension, just how much teachers were willing to give to each and every one of their students.
That's amazing.
Um,
That's like those are the little things in life that we as teachers strive to do. That we're going to make this little impression on someone, and it's going to cause them to deviate from where they were going and change their path, but obviously for a good reason.
mhm.
And they're going to stick with it and continue to do it. That's amazing. That's so nice that you found that. You found this teacher who was willing to experience it with you and show it to you. That's awesome. That actually is the reason why I started the recycling program at school. I don't get credit for it, and I'm not asking for credit for it, but I started it because my wife and I were in Colorado in Steamboat, and they didn't recycle at the place we stayed. And it was annoying. It was really annoying to me. And I was like, why don't they recycle here? And then they're like, oh, you have to go downtown and it's off the beaten path and you have to go over here and there's these giant dumpsters and it's like glass, paper, plastic. And I would do it. It didn't bother me. I was annoyed that I had to, but I was like, well, I'm going to do it. It's not like I'm going to throw this stuff away. So do you remember Mr. McCurdy?
No, I
He was
don't.
he was an assistant principal.
Oh wait, actually, yes, I do. I do.
And I text him or email him over the summer and I'm like, dude, why do we not have a recycle program at school? We waste so much paper. Why can't we recycle it? And you're now in the work world. What happens when you make a suggestion in the work world?
Well, I mean, if you just make a suggestion in the work world, like it's not going to go very far. You actually really have to.
But if it's something that they want to happen.
Oh, then it happens. Like, I mean, if you make it clear, if you kind of get your
Well,
support for your, initiative out there, like the company will find a way to make it happen.
right. Basically, I said to him, we need to recycle. I wasn't expecting he was going to turn around and make me in charge of it. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah,
not exactly what I meant.
yeah. I meant somebody else, but
Yeah, I
okay.
just meant
You
do
get
it.
voluntold to do it. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly right. You get voluntold. That's exactly what happened. I was like, darn it. Why did I do that? But we started the recycle program. And then a science teacher, who I will not name, got annoyed that a social studies teacher was doing recycling. And I was like, it's social. It's not classroom. Like, this is social science, not applied. Like, why are you mad? And here's the kicker. Just like you, I did it for free. I didn't ask for a supplement. I didn't ask to get paid. I wrangled up a bunch of kids and said, come on, guys, this is what we're going to do on Fridays. Let's go. And they were like, oh, good. We get to hang out with Mr. Proper and do some good stuff. And so then I was told, unfortunately, it's now going to go to a science teacher. And then I found out that they wound up getting paid for it. I was like, okay, that's how it works. I'm just glad that they do it. Like, I wasn't looking for recognition. I wasn't looking for pay. I just wanted it to start because, like everything else at school, maybe if you see it being done at school, you're going to emulate it and follow it at home. And so many kids were like, man, I ordered my bins because of you. You had the bins with the number and my family never did it. And I do it here at school. And thank you so much. And I was like, hey, that's all I wanted to do was get you turned on to doing the right thing. How hard is it to take the plastic bottle to put it in the blue bin? Like, it's not that hard. So, it does make a difference, but I'm really glad that you said that. So what was this quote that I had asked you to come up with? What is that? Lay it down.
The success quote.
Yes, please.
So it was first said by Winston Churchill, but it goes, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So
Now,
I really, really like it. I don't know if that's where you're going.
no. Was this a poster? Was this just something you read that stuck with you? Was this something that was your go-to when you're like down and out and you're like, I need inspiration?
Yeah, I think it's I mean, I don't actually remember where I first read it, but it's something that's. I mean, I think it came up on social media, if I'm being completely honest. But
I was going to say maybe you learned it during the study of World War II.
Oh, yeah, no, no, no.
Possibly,
Came a
possibly,
little
but social media seems more realistic.
it came up a little after that. Yeah. I came across it in college.
Oh, okay.
But it's I like it because it doesn't I mean it makes it clear that your success is your own. Like no there is no one path to get to where you need to go. Like yes, you will quote unquote fail, but even failure itself, like, it's an interesting thought because it's not necessarily that something didn't go your way. It's what you choose to do after that matters. Um,
Exactly.
and that's ultimately what determines your success.
But as you discussed, and I discussed with you earlier about my student who went to MIT, we are all our own worst critic. We all look at ourselves self-deprecating and think, that wasn't good enough or whatever. And yet, to all the people on the outside looking in who matter, that's not the case.
Mhm.
We all look at these tremendous accomplishments and realize how much hard work had to have gone into it, how much blood, sweat, and tears, late night cramming, doing whatever needed to be done. And it's just like you said, we have this self-deprecating trigger in our heads that we think, oh, well, this isn't good enough. Meanwhile, everyone else is like, you went to Yale. How bad could that have been? You're
Yeah.
the daughter of immigrant parents, and look how successful you became. Yeah, with a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of late nights, but you did it. And that's the main crux of this whole thing, is showing people that it doesn't matter if you go to FAU, Florida State, Yale, Harvard, Princeton, MIT, it's work. People just don't show up and go, I'm going to go take the test, get an A, and then it's leisure time. You have to put in, like they used to tell me when I first started playing golf, you have to put in the reps, repetitions. You just have to do it over and over and over and over again. And for you, as you clearly stated, it started at a very young age, thanks to mom, thanks to other teachers, and it stuck with you and you ran with it. And I love the fact that I never knew this, that you didn't even have a clue that you could have gone to an Ivy League school until it was brought to your attention, which to me is probably the reason you were able to do it, because you weren't fixating on this end result. And God forbid it didn't happen, your life would have been over. You were just sitting in an office going, me? What? Really? Oh, okay. Meanwhile, everyone who's ever met you is like slapping their head with the shake my head emoji going, how does this girl not realize? But I love the fact that you didn't realize. I love the fact you were pushing yourself for the unknown, and then the unknown became Yale. And that is priceless. It's like, wow, I love your story even more, because it wasn't like from second grade, mommy was going, okay, Dominique, we all know how smart you are. So you're going to go to Yale. Don't disappoint us. And then your whole life, you're like, oh no, I don't want to let my mom down. And then the quote is tremendous, because we all see things in a different way. We're all hard on ourselves. We all think no matter how well we did, we could always do better. Like Jerry Seinfeld always says, he could be in a room of 1,000 people and 999 people are laughing hysterically. And there's that one person in the front row with their arms crossed and that poop face on, and they're just not having a good time. And all you fixate on is that one person. And you're like, 999, you don't matter. This one, I got to make this guy laugh.
Yeah.
And I've been, yeah, I've had that. I've done that many, many times. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and realize not everybody's going to get it. Not everybody's going to appreciate it. You do it, you hope for the best, and then you just move on.
Yep.
So I end the podcast the same way. And I guess if anyone ever wants to, they can, cheat and find out. But do you remember who Don Estridge, the person, was? Not the school, the person.
Yeah. So Don Estridge was a computer scientist for IBM. He helped develop the first personal computer.
Correct.
Yeah, I remember.
Woohoo! Clap, 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 clap.
Yay!
Yay! He actually invented it at the school. Like, supposedly, Don Estridge was a secret IBM facility back in the 50s and the 60s, and he was tasked with inventing the personal computer. And luckily for us, once the family found out that we were naming the school after him, they so graciously actually gifted us
Yeah.
his personal computer.
Yeah, I remember it used to sit in the front office when I was a student aide in 8th grade. We'd always stare at it.
It's still there. It's still there, and it's behind a glass case now. And it's amazing that they were kind enough to donate it. I guess they were like, well, you were kind enough to name the school after our relatives, so we should give you something back in return. But that's pretty amazing.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Well, these are the little things you learn working at a place for 17 years, and you actually pick up when you listen.
Yeah, you pick up on things. Go figure.
Yeah, what a shocker. You listen and you hear stuff. So I had such an amazing time interviewing you, and I know that this interview is going to influence many, many people for many, many years to come. And with basically the one thing that this podcast has taught me, hard work pays off. And Dominique has been an exemplar of that, where she's worked very, very hard. She's accomplished many, many things, but most of it was just her own doing. And this is who she is as a person. We're not necessarily trying to emulate Dominique, but definitely her positive outlook on life, her hardworking spirit and giving back. And I am just so unbelievably thankful that you were willing to come on and talk to these students and give them a glimpse into from middle school to where you are today, as it's called, How I Got Here. Once again, thank you so much, Dominique. It's greatly appreciated.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Popper. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to How I Got Here podcast with Mr. Proper. Music provided by Miss Mata. Thank you to Patty Fernandez for the introduction. Thank you to Seth Proper for logistics and behind-the-scenes production. Join us next time for another episode of How I Got Here and more stories of former students and their journey.